We should be getting live right about now. What's up, guys?
Not
Hey,
much.
everybody.
Welcome back to NFL HQ. Holy crap is all I have to say. Those are two words to describe this weekend perfectly and sum it up. How are you guys feeling?
Horrible.
Not.
My team lost.
Yeah, I'm not feeling so great, AC. I'm glad you're happy.
Well, I know that they say misery loves company, so for at least 3 of the 4 of us, we're in good company.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah, but nobody needs. I have no wins.
but that's never been said about the Vikings. When's the last time they started 0-3?
Very
Long
rare.
time ago.
You know,
Very
very
rare.
rare.
I'm glad you brought that up. Can we just start there? 0-3. Do you realize there are only 6 teams that start 0-3 and actually still make the playoffs in NFL's history? Those teams, of course, the 81 Jets, the 82 Bucks, the 92 Chargers, the 95 Lions, the 98 Bills, and the 2018 Texans. Now, do you want to know how many teams started 0-4 and made the playoffs?
How many days?
I'm just going for
How many days?
1, and that was
Chargers.
the 92 Chargers. That was the 92
Chargers, yeah,
Chargers. So, if you go 0-4, just saying, you go 0-4.
Hey, look
your
it.
chances go from 3.2% down to, I'm guessing on a percentage, down to point something percent. How do you feel, buddy?
I look at here's all the truth. I'm hoping we lose them all. You know, we can't do a 7-9 or a 6-10. You know, you got to bottom out really hard. And this is a class where, look at this. If we get Caleb Williamson, look, we're already going to lose. Trade Kurt for something. We never get the top pick. We never get that kind of guy, number 1 overall pick at the same year there's a good quarterback. Now, Cleveland gets that 100 times, or Cardinals, you get it. It's like Jacksonville got it, right? Twice. Back to back.
In a row.
You know?
It didn't help this week.
So I'm like, at the tip where I'm like, yeah, let me see what it feels like. We'll probably knuck it up and get 7 wins and get a 12th pick overall and be back to where we're always at, right? Something's bottom out.
So staying there on the Vikings, I do have something to show here because Kevin O'Connell threatens to bench players that have fumbleitis, that have turnover issues. So he's not going to stand for it anymore. They just released Myles Gaskin, who's the next Dolphins player for a while, and they're not having it anymore. So fumbleitis, and you're out.
I think the one that, because he's not going to bench Jefferson, even though Jefferson had that fumble in the Eagle game that cost us the touchback. But I think it's Madison that he wants to bench. I think he's trying to he's going to bring in Cam Akers in to get some more reps in there, and so I think he's been very disappointed with the running game. Just don't have Delvin,
I should say so. And that was my point. Also, was the point that you've given away. You let walk one of the most important cogs in your entire offense, and now you're kind of acting surprised, like what happened? You didn't get better.
I think they should have tried to maybe restructure the. I understand you can't. I don't care. You can't bring that cat back at $15 million. You had to do something, but they didn't do anything. They just said, "Oh, let's just promote the backup," and it's like that rarely works all the time. He wasn't ready.
Unless they take huge strides. But let's take a quick listen. Let's see if this works to what's going on here in Minnesota.
I think that's something that we're gonna fix one way or the other. Either guys are gonna do it, or we're gonna have to put other guys in the game that have ball security.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's it. He was very succinct about it. He's like, either you're not going to fumble anymore, or we're going to put you out. Yeah,
I love this coach. I would have said the same thing. I do like Kevin O'Connell, and I I actually like the coaching staff of it. Just tweaks in some of the team. You probably do need to get yourself a younger quarterback, and also too is a better running game. The squad's pretty good. Maybe another pass rusher.
But Brandon, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
I was going to say, speaking of Kevin O'Connell, obviously, Brandon, you mentioned earlier, you want to lose all their games. You want to get Caleb Williams out of USC. Kevin O'Connell, I believe, in his second year now with the Vikings. So would Kevin O'Connell be on the hot seat if he goes 0-17? Can an 0-17 Kevin O'Connell survive?
Yeah, because you got the 13-3 you're out of the way, right? Now, if he was like 6-10 last year, and then they go back to like thinking, yeah, but I think since you've shown that, hey, if you give me a squad, I can get you to the playoffs. I think that it's always tough. You're right. The coach always has to take the blunt of those losses, but I think if you trade Cousins, because I think if you keep Cousins, there's no way. But if you can somehow maybe get Cousins out of there for a second round draft pick and
But is Cousins the problem?
No, but we're just not going to sign him next year, and so get something for him.
Cousins is the problem in losing all your games.
No.
Kirk Cousins will eventually win you a couple of football games.
Yeah,
so
that's the problem.
Organizational
He'll end up winning a 6-7. Yeah, you got to, because you're right. Cousins is good enough to like. We're going to win Carolina next week. I think we'll win a couple. We do get a nice easy schedule in there, but it's just like, let's say you lump up and you do get a wild card. It's like then you lose Cousins to free agency anyways, and you're gonna either have to go back to the free agent like pool or get some draft pick, in the high 20s, and it's just gonna be tough. The good ones are really rolling around there.
Can I throw something out there? How would you feel about doing it now and trading Kirk Cousins to the Jets?
That's the goal. We got to do it before the deadline. Like you got to trade him. I think it's tough because when you have a fan base and you were in the playoffs last year no fan. Nobody likes to think like you're tanking in that nature, but you're just not going to bring him back next year at that cap number. They kind of already said, like in some ways, because if they did, it would have been cheaper to re-sign him now. You would have just extended him, right, for cheaper. And so to go him to and I think that's noticing a little bit. He's pressing the ball a little more. He's a couple of interceptions, like he's forcing it. I almost feel like because he knows he's on the last. I think he played a little differently if he knew he had some security with him, but I think he's forcing some issues trying to try out for his next team.
Gotcha. So here are the woes. The Vikings have lost 7 fumbles, tied for second most through 3 games since 2000. According to ESPN stats and information research, quarterback Kirk Cousins has thrown 2 interceptions, which is as much as 2 has thrown. And really just matters if you win or not, right? And how pretty it looks. So Kirk Cousins has done 2 interceptions, 1 at the goal line, which is inexcusable once you're in the red zone. And Vikings final possession, he halted that with the remaining time in Sunday's 24-28 loss with the Los Angeles Chargers, who were due for a win. So it wasn't like you're playing a shitty team. It wasn't like you were playing a trap game, for example. This is a game that you could have won or lost. Really,
you could have won 5 times over again. They just played terrible. That last sequence of the not getting it's not even. It's not so much the not getting the ball down. The Hawkinson interception. It's the wasting so much seconds. Like how to clock the ball.
Crazy.
He's like trying to listen out for the thing. Like if it was a rookie, I'd be like, hey, he'll learn. He's a veteran making that mistake. That is ridiculous. And so that is probably one of the things where that, again, you hit the ceiling with a guy like that. Like he's good enough to win you. He's like a Dak Prescott. If you build a great team around him, he's good enough to get you there. But if he's not a good enough guy where he's like, hey, make these guys better, he's just not that cat.
Well,
There's only a couple of those guys.
Also, we don't have to beat up on Dak Prescott. We'll get to that when I talk about my.
Oh no!
Well, but I just want to give you some encouragement.
I put them all in the same bucket. Yeah,
no, that's fine. But anytime we talk about records and the stats about starting 0-3, 0-4, keep in mind we have never had 17 game schedules except for the last few years, so we don't know the true data with 17 games what that means. Also, if you're a Vikings fan, being at 0-3, you're not even the worst team in your own division. Not a lot of 0-3 teams can say that. So you do have a little bit of comfort in that. And I think all 4 of us can agree of the 4 0-3 teams, the Vikings are the best of the 0-3s, but that's not saying much.
Now we're splitting hairs. Now we're like the best of the worst.
And the conference is down, so that always helps too. Like that wild card, that 7th wild card too. It's the 17 games and the extra wild card, right? And so you're going to see some teams that normally, what was it like? The Lions started out 1-6 last year, and then somehow because of that 7th seed, were like until Seattle wins it in the end, Lions still have a chance to make the playoffs. Right. And so it's not, you're never out like that because you're right, because you can lump up some wins and things of that nature. But this team looks like it's hit a ceiling. Right. And so I think then that was last year. You know,
It's very possible. Last year, the narrative was 11 one-score games. The Vikings were 11-0 in one-score games. And what happens this year? The cruel fate for your team: 0-3 so far, all 3 games by 1 score. So, you probably got another. What's the math on that? 8 more of these to come, I guess, to even out.
Yeah, giveth and taketh, right?
Yeah.
And that's something to work on.
Can we hold on the drilling? Can we hold on the drilling before?
Speaking of something to work on.
Thank you.
Manual screwdriver might be something to. I saw the end of that game, and my feeling, and it wasn't my team, but my feeling on that was, are they both just trying to lose? I mean, seriously, the Chargers go for
played so bad, yeah.
4th down. They go for it 4th down and give you guys the ball back. And they missed that 4th down play on their own 24 or 25 yard line with over a minute to go. What in the heck? I am surprised that you guys didn't pull that out based on that. I thought, that to me was the most idiotic play. It ended up somehow working because of the interception, but it's just crazy. It looked like both teams were trying to lose that game.
They were. That's bad coaching and everything.
I get it.
I really think that if you hold on, I'm going to go into another room so you can.
No, I got you.
Pool table. I'm in my living room. No one's here.
No worries.
There we go. There we go. Yeah, you can see the house. But there's no lighting in here too much, so I'm coming dark sometimes. So let me do this real quick, and this might be better. All right.
There you go.
The pool table must be set up, and that's
I'll let him do it. Especially
if he's doing it while you're doing this.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I know. Well, I told him, I said, hey, let me do the podcast real quick, and then I'll come back to help you. I was like, hey, can you stop drilling? Like,
and he's working, and he's like, get up and help.
I bought him some Wendy's.
I'm podcasting here.
Yeah, I'm like, hey.
Dave, you mentioned obviously the way that the Chargers tried to give that game away. In the end, the Chargers come out with the victory. But we both sit here as Cowboys and Jaguars fans, myself and yourself. The Dallas Cowboys go into Arizona 12.5-point favorite, 11.5-point favorite, whatever the case may be, and lose by 12 to the Cardinals. Your Jaguars at home get blown out by 20 as a 8 or 9-point favorite to the Houston Texans, a divisional opponent. Yeah. Which loss is more disappointing in your opinion?
In my opinion, well, it's mine. However, might I just point out, and I think I talked to you a little bit ago, and I think you pointed out the lock of the week is a. Do you want to bring that up?
So I guess 1 week is, we'll just call it, fluke. But if it becomes a trend, so here on NFL HQ, towards the end of the show, we try and give our lock of the week for the upcoming game. So we'll do that for week 4. But in week 3, our locks of the week, my lock of the week were the Jacksonville Jaguars. Your lock of the week were the Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys.
So
man.
Cover those points.
We're going to call this the NFL HQ curse.
We are, because the week before that, AC's lock of the week was also the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to ask all of you, never pick the Jacksonville Jaguars for your lock of the week, because there is a curse, and I believe it now. But it's happened twice.
I had lock of the week as the Dolphins against the Patriots, though. I'm gonna take the win on that one.
That's true. You did.
So, I definitely, I probably, the Cowboys one felt more flukish, just because, that happens sometimes where, a good team. The one thing with the Jacksonville, I thought, which was Texans always play the Jacksonville weirdly.
They do.
Like the Houston will have 2 wins, and they'll be both 2 against the Jacksonville.
Right.
Like,
it doesn't matter their records.
Super teams, and it could be Davis Mills over there for some reason. That seems more like on trend. I probably my thing would be is the Jacksonville thing was very
the Texans have our number. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I quit watching football after that. No, I didn't, but I might if it happens again. The Texans always have our number. I think I don't know the exact record, but I'm pretty sure we're like 14-26 or something against them all time, or 14-28, something just astrologically not in Jacksonville's favor. Again,
well, can Can I just bring up a quick record? So obviously we're going to hear about all the records in the Dolphins game. But did you know, Dave, in your game, Andrew Beck became the heaviest player at 255 pounds in NFL history to score a kick return touchdown of 50-plus yards. So congratulations, Andrew Beck. You're probably one player in Houston that we'll never talk about again. But for one small moment in time, you had an incredible kick return against a special teams unit of the Jaguars that could not tackle you for some reason.
And that's when I realized that game was pretty much over. There was plenty of time still, but we just kicked that field goal, and then he not only ran it completely back. Are you going to bring up that play?
I'm going to bring up all the plays.
And I was going to say, Jack's got a ton of drops too. I mean, they could not. It was 3 and 4, 3rd and 5, and it would bounce off Ridley's hands. It was. I felt bad for Lawrence because I need someone to hold this ball. I think they tied for the most drops. I think in the last 2 games in like 20 years or something between the teams. So they do have a case of the
of the dropsies.
The dropsies, the up those. And
I call drops now Kadarius Toney's.
Yes, right. They, so it was sad to see because they had times when they were driving and they would just get to a 3rd and 4 and it was like drop and then they have to punt it.
That was it.
Just drive killers.
Now I'm not. We're still 1 and 2, so I'm not that. But you know what? It looks like not the team I was thinking it was a couple weeks ago, where we're just gonna light up everything. No, now we're gonna work every game. I'm not saying they're done. Yeah. We gotta, like you guys said, 17-week season, or 18-week season, 17 games. So we've got plenty of time. We can still get it together. Yeah. But man, those freaking Texans. And every nothing against people from Texas, because I was born there. However, they get us every time. Doesn't matter the records, throw them out the window. They get us every time. So
it showed me that CJ Stroud is going to be the winner because he was slanging those things all day. And it was like, between that Brace Young or something, it was like, we got to see who was, I think too. So he's going to be in your division. I think with him and,
it's going to be tough.
I think him and Lawrence will be battling it year in and year out for the next couple of years.
Yeah, they're going to make it tough. But Anthony Richardson's going to do. Speaking of those teams from Texas, Dan Rod, what's your feeling?
Right. So obviously, yes, I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. So for my home field advantage, or my home field advantage, my Dallas Cowboys starting off the season 2-0, being the 2 New York teams, riding sky high, having the best scoring offense, lowest scoring defense. And then, of course, the week starts off, or I guess, before the game even starts, the news Thursday comes down. Cornerback Trayvon Diggs blows his ACL in practice. He is done for the season.
R.I.P.
So you hear that news and you think, okay, that hurts the defense, but we still have Micah Parsons. We have Stephon Gilmore, who we signed in free agency. We're playing the Arizona Cardinals. We're still a heavy favorite. This should still be a game the Cowboys should win. Going into the game, we knew that a couple of linemen were questionable. It turns out that Zach Martin starting right guard, Trevor Biotish starting center, both out. Tyron Smith starting left tackle, dressed for the game, did not play a single snap. I guess he was there on an emergency basis because if someone got hurt on the O-line, they needed depth. I've talked about it before, saying that the O-line did not have a lot of depth, but all that still factoring in, it felt like the Cowboys went into this game, sat those linemen, and felt like they could just come in and beat the Cardinals. And boy, were they mistaken.
Wrong.
Now, I don't want to blame the injuries because the Cowboys still had a better team on paper that took the field. 2 things to look at. In the first half, the Cowboys could not stop the Cardinals at all. Gave up, I think, close to 200 yards on the ground. They finished with 222 yards rushing, the Cardinals as a team. I feel like most of those came in the first half. Cardinals scored on all 5 possessions of the first half. And the Dallas Cowboys 1 for 5 in the red zone. Even when the Cowboys were winning games, the thing I brought up here was red zone efficiency still was not there, but they had the luxury of big leads and things to work it out. So can we chalk this up as just a bad game by the Cowboys, or is this a true Cowboys team in the first 2 weeks were the anomaly? They got a stiff test coming up this week against the Patriots, and then, of course, the San Francisco 49ers 2 weeks from now. So I think as a Cowboys fan, we just accept it. We take our lumps on social media, in the media, whatever the case may be. And we know that the Cowboys just have to be better, and hopefully they learn from this. And, of course, Dak threw a bad interception late in the game, which cannot happen, but it was bound to happen. So at least we know Stephen A. Smith is probably happy somewhere after that awful first pitch he threw at the New York Yankees game. So this is kind of like his redemption, I guess. Yeah. But that's all I'll say for the Cowboys. No, not a good game. We suffered through it. And I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm sure lots of people know this. I am a huge Swiftie. And
Oh,
Yes.
I had no
the
idea.
fact that
I
they
know.
put that game on at 4:25 Eastern opposite the Kansas City Chiefs, Chicago Bears, with Taylor Swift in attendance,
Amazing.
I feel like they were trying to split my loyalty. And I think, I cursed the Cowboys week 3, and it's my fault. I'll take the loss. It's on me.
It's on your shoulders. You heard it here first, people.
She was at which game?
The Kansas City Chiefs. You know which game.
Well,
You've
she's
seen it
dating,
all over.
Yeah.
I
Well,
was
I think it's
Yeah.
sweet. They're dating, you know, a 30-year-old girl's dating a guy finally above 5'5", because I think all her ex-boyfriends are all tiny people. So now finally, a statuesque man that she can look up to. But I mean, she's a billionaire.
Literally and figuratively.
She's gonna be a billionaire. There's no question about that. That's the next Oprah in the making. She's gonna be just rolling in money. He hit the jackpot there, because if it's just a fling, that's cool. But if you're really going for like the long haul to, you know, maybe marry this chick, you are sitting pretty.
I doubt that.
You are
Well,
sitting
and again, if we want
Um,
to dive into the real stats of the weekend, Travis Kelce jersey sales up 400%.
I saw that.
He is now top 5 or top 10 in jersey sales in the NFL.
because of Swift.
Over
400%.
over 300,000 new Instagram followers, and those are all Swifties. Okay,
God damn, man.
So-
that's money on the books.
Absolutely.
Well,
So what you're
he-
saying, Dan Rod, is you now follow Travis Kelce. Is that what you're saying?
yes, I didn't follow him before, but I do now.
This is it.
Good.
This is it.
But
Those,
I already followed Taylor Swift the Eras Tour, Taylor Swift the movie, and Taylor Nation. So
Perfect.
I got my
Damn.
bases covered.
Perfect. Perfect.
Brandon.
So
No, I was gonna say, you know what? The scary part about the red zone issues with Dallas is that I just don't see the fix, right? They have to invent something. The main two guys that he used in the red zone were Schultz and Ezekiel Elliott, and neither of them are on the team anymore. And so they don't have the bruiser back that is going to take that role. And the Ferguson kid just seems like he hasn't really ever kind of like took him with Dak. And so it kind of does. And CeeDee Lamb's never been like a, Randy Moss kind of like throw it to the back shoulder kind of guy. And so
No, even
like,
Des
I
Bryant,
don't
if you
know.
want to take it to the Cowboys. Des Bryant,
Right,
was a great
exactly,
red zone
right.
threat.
Great instant run zone threat, and I'm just kind of, and then all the other guys are little, like Cooks and Gallup, so they kind of cut in between, and so it's like you have to wait for Dak to thread a needle. Especially on that one where he threw the interception with the 3 guys there, it was supposed to be Cooks in the back, and Cooks.
It was a bad read, yeah.
It was a bad read, and it was like again. Where's that big, tall, lanky kind of receiver in there they would need, or some type of tight end help? I think all year they're going to win games, but I think the red zone it's going to be tight for them until I have to see, or unless McCarthy just schemes something up. But they just don't have anything in there that you would normally assess to making good red zone reads.
Yeah, it's early in the season. 3 tight ends. Obviously, you mentioned Jake Ferguson, Peyton Hendershot's been on the team, and also
Yeah.
Luke Schoonmaker, who's the rookie that they got. So they're hoping maybe big things from them. Obviously, not having 2 of your linemen on the interior for that run game for Tony Pollard made a bit of a difference. And Dak in his press conference, I think, talked about potentially using his legs more. That's one thing I've always said with Dak, as much as I'm not a big proponent of quarterbacks running. I think quarterbacks need to run, just need to be smart about running, not take hits when they run. I think if Dak can be a bit of a threat in the red zone with his legs, that'll open up things as well. But at least the Cowboys know that they're not invincible, and they'll learn from it. But we still sit here with one of our teams 3-0 and possibly looking like the best team in the NFL. I don't know if there's a better way to transition or an easy way to transition. 70 points scored, most points since 1966. So before TV had color and before people watched football probably on TV.
Right, exactly.
Before Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
AC,
absolutely.
what can we learn from your Miami Dolphins in a 70-20 blowout of the Denver Broncos?
Well, first we learned that Mike McDaniels has class and poise, only because he didn't go for the 73 to win to break the record. That would have been, of course, I was over here cheering, saying, "You do it." Sean Payton will understand. He would do it to you.
Yeah, he do it to you.
This is a really small group of people that get together to do one job, and when you kind of shit where you eat, you don't want to piss off the whole world either. So he played it right. I think at the end of the day, I understood why he didn't do it. It's more about coexisting and understanding that we're not trying to pile on points. Some of those the last one by Mike White to Chosen Anderson, that might have been unnecessary, but I mean, we're still, we were up hugely with a whole fourth quarter to go. What are we going to do? Stop playing the game? So if at one point, it's put in your second, I don't know what to tell you, Sean, put in your second squad, pep up your first squad. It's also hard on us to keep that defensive pressure up when you're up 50, 60 points is not easy. People are going to be on their heels, lackadaisical, like, oh, we got this. At the point that you start taking out people, now it's really we're giving up, but it's to put in your backup Mike White and throw a 60-yard bomb to Chosen Anderson for just a nail in the coffin, kick your corpse touchdown. That was incredible. But alas, we didn't go for, the actual humiliation, even though I'm sure they feel pretty humiliated.
And it's crazy that when you score 70 points and win like that, all you can talk about is the fact that you didn't humiliate a team by scoring 73. So before it got out of hand, no Jalen Waddle was there. So you can talk about injuries on your side.
Yep,
but
no
what did you
Waddle.
see from the starting unit? Tyreek Hill had another good game. Your running backs, Mostart, and whether we call him A-Chain or A-Chan, however he wants to be called
A-Chain,
now.
I think you mentioned that he's
yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, Tua. So is it fair to say Tua Tagovailoa right now, lead front runner, MVP candidate in the NFL after 3 weeks?
Great question. First of all, there should be a separate quarterback MVP. That's what I believe, because there should be a separate quarterback, only because it's going to be a quarterback every time. It's very hard for an MVP to be anything else. I think Tyreek Hill, despite what I just said,
Cy Young,
exactly,
that.
Yeah, totally, something else. Despite what I just said, I believe that Tyreek would be the MVP today, and then Tua second, only because what he does is second to no one else can do it. Another quarterback can get hot, maybe only throw 2 interceptions to 1,300 yards he already has now. He could do, that's doable by another person, but what Tyreek brings to the table is a skill set that is unmatched. I will bring up the stat in a moment, but we have the 5 fastest runners in the NFL, and that's statistically put on paper right now. 22 miles an hour for the cheetah, A-Chain, Waddle, Mostert, and Barrios, I believe, are the fastest in the NFL. It's pretty disgusting. It's pretty disgusting.
Jeff Wilson Jr. when he gets healthy is pretty fast.
It's very fast, yeah. And I attribute four rushing touchdowns by Mostert, 4 rushing touchdowns by A-Chain, to be a feat that's like, if Mike McDaniel was his offensive genius and he's an aerial genius, he just shut everything down by showing us what zone blocking and proper zone blocking can do. I was on the verge of tears. Never in my life have I seen anything like that. Not with Marino. I've been a fan my entire life. Never seen Marino do anything like that. He never had that kind of running game. I've never seen the aerial display and the onslaught, the absolute just unbridled happiness and joy for that home opener that we've never had. We've never had that. We've started off 3-0 for the second year in a row, but this was the home opener that we needed to revitalize the whole fan base. It's been, I think, sleeping for the last 25 years with a carousel of Cleveland-like quarterbacks. So, it's now, it just feels like redemption. I almost feel like I don't deserve it, Dan.
Well,
Seriously.
You know what? Take the victories when you can, because again, not to bring it back to my Cowboys, but a 40-0 victory week 1. Did I celebrate it the way I should have? Maybe not. But celebrate it, move on, because the NFL will humble you. And we will talk about it coming up, but a divisional match against the Buffalo Bills, a game where you're actually not favored because it's in Buffalo.
That's right.
So this could be a very good sort of litmus test game for your Dolphins. And if you remember, I think it was week 3 a year ago when all the chatter became Tua, the head injury that was against the Buffalo Bills in Miami. So I think the one stat, and I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I'm pretty confident in saying sacked once so far through 3 games. He's only been hit a handful of times. So that Dolphins O-line and that just scheme of Mike McDaniels getting the ball out of his hand quickly have kept him safe, kept him protected. And as long as you can keep Tua healthy, then your team will still be competitive in each and every football game that you play.
And let me tell you, I'm sorry.
No. I was going to say, hopefully, because, I expect the Cowboys, the Jags, even the Vikings to be competitive every game, but sometimes games get out of hand. But.
Of course they do. And like I said, how do you keep people motivated when you're up by such a huge lead? You start putting in backups. you kind of see what you got there.
Well,
I will
was
tell.
going to say this with the offense, though. This is probably going to be one of those historical ones. You
Yep.
can smell it, you can see it when they come around, right? I was lucky enough as a Viking fan, 98. Like you knew it. Like right when Moss got there, it's like this is going to be something special.
This is
We're gonna
special.
put up a bunch of points. Doesn't always equal Super Bowl. Doesn't always equal championship. But for that season, it's going to be a fun season. You're going to blow teams out. You're going to laugh. You're going to high five and stuff because every game you're just going to be killing people that get there. The Rams were like that in 99. That Patriots team in 07 and stuff, and they Randy Moss jumping up, getting forward. Like you'll see that kind of happen. And when these offenses just get to smoking, this one seems like one of those ones where it's like, parring everybody stay healthy. This is a 14-2 kind of a team. And then, you just got to hope for you keep it in the playoffs. But there's no defenses that can run with these guys. A 15-yard hitch is going to turn into a 30. Buckle up. It's going to be one of those kind of seasons for them. And so I'm hoping that if everybody stays healthy and everything, there's no reason. It's AFC Championship game minimum, and then the Super Bowl at the ceiling. There's no one really stopping these guys.
And when Brandon tells me something like that, I mean,
There you
that
go.
makes me feel really good because he's, he tells it like it is.
I'll tell you. I'll let you.
There's no smoke there.
This is something. This is scary, kind of special.
Yeah.
You guys,
when they have the right coach and the right.
I saw you guys run a play multiple times. You have this reverse type of counter play that you run where you throw the reverse. It can go this way, but then you've got what's his name? Mozart? No. On counter. And depending on who you give the ball to, you guys ran, it was like 30 yards every time you did it. Whichever way you did it, whether you handed off in the reverse or whether it was that counter, it was literally like watching me play Tecmo Bowl against my kid 20 years ago. You know what I mean? It was amazing. In fact, when you go back and you watch all the replays, if you watch highlights of the game, it's all 20, 40. I mean, it's just
huge
crazy.
chunk plays. Well, McDaniels puts people in the position to win. He actually analyzes, and I'm not saying that no one else does this, but maybe he does this a little bit better than most. I also like the fact that he's younger, maybe connects with the players a little bit better. He's in the new NFL, and he's not in the stuck in the old Belichick, Parcells kind of like old let's run it on the road, and that's what we did. We did run it a whole lot, but we ran it in the new NFL way.
Wow,
with some serious teams.
They're smoking them.
Mostert is extremely fast. A-Chain is, or whatever we're calling him these days.
A-Chain, it doesn't matter.
People were saying like, oh, he's undersized. How can you throw away a third-round pick like that? Texas A&M, whatever. And I said, hold on. I was even showing my wife like plays when he was in college, and she was like, wow, he's fast. He's ours. I said, yeah, he's ours. And
it's not just using the speed. It's how he orchestrates it, right? And so it's like a lot of people have speed on the team, but usually it's like it's getting them involved, getting them to open, and then you get to it in the in the same system for 2 years in a row. It's so big when as a quarterback you get that first confidence learning, and you go from learning the system to mastering it. And now you see him. He already knows where the ball is going to go before he gets there. He
throws it before people have turned around.
Yeah, he's before he look, wait, and then kind of throw it. Now he knows the guy's going to be there, and so it's all kind of coming together, right? When people always say the only thing that can stop him is injury, because if you're healthy,
that's it.
And you line up against another team, 9 times out of 10 you're going to beat them. And they got the cold games out of the early. They got to go to New England now, Buffalo now. This is like the schedule makers. They never get this. They always get that New England game in December where it's like frosty cold and it's ice on the window.
Buffalo, December 28th.
Cold games in September.
That's right.
So now it's like, and then these teams get to come to Miami and sweat like a ball that in December. Oh man, it's
still hot. It's 80 degrees in December. I can confirm that. So can Brandon.
Yeah, this is lining up for a Dolphins year. And they deserve it because they finally started drafting well and running the team right and getting it. It's just so it's good to see.
Well, maybe one of us will pick the Dolphins as our lock of the week for this week, and we'll find out how it actually works.
Maybe not.
As a Dolphins fan, I just think the creativity that you guys showed on offense, I think it worked perfectly.
It was amazing.
At one point, because in the second quarter of the Commanders game against the Buffalo Bills, they went for it on 4th and 1. They ran a simple goal line dive play, got absolutely stuffed, and the momentum kind of was shot from there. almost the exact same time in the Dolphins game. It was the Tua Tagovailoa no-look pass to
Oh,
Achane,
Yeah, I love that.
and that
Poetry.
made it
Yeah.
20-7. And just the
Crazy.
creativity that the Dolphins showed compared to the Commanders, and then I had to watch the Cowboys with sheer lack of creativity in the red zone a couple hours later. So I understand the creativity on that Dolphins offense makes them scary. Now, Brandon, you said something very interesting, and that was the fact that pencil them in possibly AFC Championship game. They looked that good. Now, there are a couple teams that might have something to say about that. They haven't been playing up to par as of late, but last year's AFC Championship game featured a Kansas City Chiefs team that finally took care of business and looked more like the Chiefs this week, as they beat the Chicago Bears, as mentioned, 41-10. And I'll just mention this: they won by 31 points, reverse 31-13.
Yeah.
Sarah's favorite number.
They're
They have it for a reason. None of them. But then also the Cincinnati Bengals finally won a game,
Yeah.
19-16 last night over the Rams.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Buffalo Bills, who were in that championship game a few years ago, they looked pretty good, 37-3 over the Commanders this week. And, of course, the Miami Dolphins have them coming into town this week coming up. So, of the Bills, Bengals, Chiefs, are there any other teams in the AFC right now other than the Dolphins? Who do we like in the AFC? Or what games did we see this past week that make you think maybe one of these teams could again be in the AFC Championship game?
I don't see anybody really getting. It's probably Dolphins and Chiefs. It kind of looks like now. There's always that that team that gets hot kind of a thing that can kind of wreck some havoc a little bit. The Ravens might be one of those because they do have they played terrible against the Colts, but I still believe in them. You can't go too much off every win, every loss. But the scary part about the Finns that makes everything over the top is that running game, as crazy as it was, is played because your safety has to play so far back that he thinks so. If they can play with these guys all day, the safeties and the plays are going to come up to stop the running game. Then I'm going to kill you with Tyreek Hill over the top. So there's no. I don't know if you have a defense that you'd have to have stout guys on the front that can really jam those receivers, some safeties.
Look at that shovel pass, Achane breaks a tackle and dives for 6.
I found the middle shovel pass.
Yeah, just beautiful.
Mustard never lasts the season, so that always scares me.
Oh yeah,
Kid might be there to help.
Although undersized, he needs help. I think that's why we extended out.
Got an incredible play design. Watch Tyreek Hill. He's going to come from behind. It looks like they're going to do a quick little reverse. It's a no-look shovel pass. Wow. Tua's looking at Tyreek.
Yeah, it's
with a second down and goal. Oh, look at that shovel pass. Achane breaks a tackle and dives for 6.
I wanted to talk over it. Is that what you're telling me, Dave?
Oh, here is the play.
Oh, you do hear the play.
Yeah.
Oh, my apologies. So, he's undersized. He's small. He's not going to be your bell cow. He's not going to be able to take that load. I think again that's why we kept Alec Ingold because we need the extra protection in pass pro, and we need somebody in front of him. I think these people saw something that everyone else didn't, which is he can do those trick plays. You just you got to know how to use them. Those 2 shovel passes were absolutely poetry. Like I can't put it in any other way. It was like watching a beautiful symphony. 11 people going together to do the right thing. The way Tyreek Hill was sealing the outside.
Yeah.
And Micah Parsons had something to say about it this week. Micah Parsons said, "Come at me, bro. You try to seal me like that." And I think it was week 5 we play the Cowboys. Is that right, Dan?
I think a little later. I know we have San Francisco week 5. I think I'll look it up right now.
Yeah.
So Micah Parsons said, "If you come at me like that, I'm going to put you in the sideline. I'm going to put you in the tent." So
I know that's weird because they were running at Parsons. That was kind of the way to negate him, and
that's
so
how you neutralize Micah Parsons.
That's how because now he has to kind of stop for a second, think
Square
what
up.
to do, and so and he can't just put his head down and go to the pass rush, and so and he gets himself caught out of position. And you saw that the Josh Dobbs had like this ridiculous run because you can see Parsons literally just fell for everything in the table trying to go in there, and so
it's week 16 Dolphins at home against the Cowboys, so it'll be a early Christmas gift on the 24th of December for either you and I.
Christmas Eve. I love that.
But Dave, being in the AFC as a Jaguars fan, how do your Jaguars stack up, and who do you think could be competition to the Dolphins right now?
Well, it's funny you mention that because 2 weeks ago I would have said my team. And again, not counting them out, things can happen. Things can happen, but the Chiefs are the team to beat in that division. The Chiefs are the team to beat in the AFC. And you're right with everything you say. And AC, especially that quickness of your Miami Dolphins, but the team other than Miami that can still get it done, you've got to go in there and beat Patrick Mahomes. And you mentioned Dan Rod. You mentioned last week when Jaguars lost to Kansas City. Would you rather play him in Kansas City or would you rather play him in Jacksonville? Well, Kansas City is going to win enough games that more than likely we're going to have to go through Kansas City again, whoever it is. And I say we, still hoping it's me. Still hoping it's me, but I'd love for him to go down to either one of our teams, AC. If they got to beat him, let's bring him to our house. Because
let's see when he's on the road. He's never had a road plaalf game. You know, right. He's gotten, they've lucked up. Even when they were the 2 seed, the 1 seed would get upset sometimes, right? And so it's not, you don't always have to have the 1 seed. It was just weird luck one year where it was like Tennessee had the 1 seed and then they lose to the Bengals. Or the Ravens had the 1 seed and they lose to Tennessee, right? And so they've had a weird chance of always hosting that dang thing. It's different in road games. And it would like to see, let's see what he looks like on the road. I'm not saying he's not, but it's hey, man, your first 8 playoff games are at home. Like, that's pretty ridiculous. And so if you're going to, that's why I think Miami can have that record, maybe to kind of go at them, right? They are going to be a 13-3 team.
With like what you guys were talking about, the amount of speed on that team and the side-to-side movement of the play before the ball snaps and then after the ball snaps and the counters and the amount of plays that they're running that are just different than, like AC, you pointed out. It's not your smash mouth football straight up the middle. It's things that people haven't seen before, and it's working. And it's
you're talking about Tyreek in motion. You're talking about
I'm talking about Tyreek in motion. I'm talking about sending A-Chain or H-An one direction as Mozart comes up the other direction and not knowing which of them's getting the ball. It's cool to watch, and I can only imagine being a Dolphins fan right now, because it's cool to watch the way that they are mixing up that offense to really make it really difficult on any defense that's going to have to compete with them.
They're innovative,
right? They got to be quick, because the way they're using that speed right now in the right ways, and they're going to be tough to beat, but. Kansas City, other than Miami, Kansas City is still Kansas City. They still know how to win, and they still got Patrick Mahomes.
Well, as you can see, I brought up this. I'm sorry, Dan. I did bring up the standings here so people can actually see as we're talking about who can make the playoffs. I know it's only week 3 to 4, but Steelers are on top right now. Steelers are on top. The Ravens, Colts. These are unlikely, playoff teams, I would say at this point. The Chiefs, the Raiders looked like absolute ass yesterday on Sunday. No, it was yesterday, right? And
no, Sunday night.
Sunday night. Yeah. That's what it was. All runs together. But teams that we thought that were going to be on top are not on top right now. It's a long season, of course, but if it stopped right now and we went to the playoffs, we're talking about Steelers, Dolphins, Colts.
So
the
Colts,
AFC is not looking the way it's
what you need to do is screenshot that right there, and we'll see how many of those teams stay where they are.
Okay.
In a few weeks from now. Obviously, we're talking about possibly going on the road in Kansas City in an AFC Championship game. Kansas City not playing on the road in any of those games the last few years. For your Miami Dolphins, we talked about going on the road against Buffalo this week coming up, so that's a tough test. They have the Eagles coming up on the road in a few weeks from now, and then they have a road game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, if you look, for me, that's a 9:30 a.m. start, because that game is not being played in the United States. That game will actually be played in Germany. So we won't actually get to see the Dolphins play on the road in Kansas City, but we will get to see Dolphins and Chiefs in Germany. But AC, what do you want to see from your Dolphins, especially in these upcoming road games, first against Buffalo and then Philadelphia, who we'll talk about them in a second, in a couple weeks' time after that, their next 2 road starts?
Yeah. The number one thing that I want to see is defensive consistency, because what I did see was our second-year stud safety, Javon Holland, punching out
Canadian
balls. I mean, absolutely killing it. I saw a lot of turnovers, although, it was sloppy play on their part, but we were hustling in that first part of the game. We were punching out balls. We were flying at interceptions. We were actually tackling. We weren't confused. I believe that was a Fangio kind of gelling game where we finally understood what Fangio wants to do, especially because it was his old team, right? So I think that might have had something to do with it. The scouting was probably on point. However, what I'm looking for is Bradley Chubb. I'm looking for Jalen Phillips to attack the quarterback. Josh Allen needs hands in his face. Josh Allen cannot feel like he is comfortable for a moment. When it comes to run defense, we need to definitely button that up because both of those teams can do it, especially at home. So I'm looking for Javon Holland to scan the skies and try to be the ball hawk that he is. I'm really proud of Kader Kohu as well, in the absence of Jalen Ramsey. So everybody's playing pretty good at this moment. What I need to stay that defensive energy, that pressure that these people feel, and not sit back on their laurels and say, okay, we're 3-0, and everybody's calling us the best team in the league. Offense is on lock. I'm not gonna pray for that for this game. I'm really focused on the defense, and especially our secondary. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, and again, a tough test in Buffalo. In Buffalo coming off a 9-sack game against the Commanders, a game where they just destroyed Sam Howell and those Commanders. But Miami sits there 3-0. Only 3-0 teams left in the NFL after Week 3, so we appreciate the symmetry there. The other two teams both in the NFC. Right. So the San Francisco 49ers 3-0, the Philadelphia Eagles 3-0. I guess the two teams that most people projected would be two of the best teams in the entire NFC. The Cowboys kind of snuck into that conversation, but after this week, we'll kind of leave them out of it for now. But I don't think can anyone sit there and say that they've seen the best of the Eagles or the 49ers yet in any of their 3-0 starts.
Brandon?
Yeah, well, look at Niners look to be great. I think they got something cooking right there. It does. It's very huge gap in the NFC. Like, it just seems like two or three teams up top. I still consider the Cowboys a great team as well too, and with the Eagles and Niners, and but then, man, there's a lot of any given Sunday kind of stuff. Where, and I think it's the opposite in the AFC. I think that it's a little where it's like, hey, it's hard to pick the AFC because there's a lot of good teams, and then the NFC, hey, it's hard to pick the NFC because there's a lot of bad teams. I guess it's always hard to watch, but I would say the one thing that I noticed with this is that the defenses, same thing with the Eagles and stuff, man. Like, and they shut you down. It's hard to score points on those guys. You're going to have to really, put some drives together. None of them beatable, but those teams just seem like head and shoulders against anybody going at them. And I probably would lean a little more towards the Eagles, just because I think they have a little more on the dynamic of the wide receivers and the coach and the defensive line. But we'll see.
Do you like the and this is something I was mulling over the weekend. Do you like the 49ers running game better than the Philadelphia Eagles running game? Because I'm a Swiftie in that area, Dan. But
DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
Yes.
That'd be cool if they were dating, right? Swiftie. But I mean, I would say
definitely 49ers, just because you do get captured. Like, the one thing what I noticed is with the stable of backs coming from the Eagles, it's just like they just never know really which one's game it is. DeAndre Swift had the last couple of games. Like the first game, they didn't use him as much. They still got Rashard Penny waiting for carries. They just had him on the sideline. He looks like he's bored. Kenneth Gainwell kind of comes in. It's a lot of everybody and Jalen Hurts, right? So you add that caveat to it. It has a different kind of way at it. But I think anytime you have Christian McCaffrey back there, it's a game changer, right? And now your linebacker has to cover Christian. You can see that just getting killed and stuff. I think that I would say the Niners had that pass rush though with Bosa and stuff like that. The Eagles have a good defensive line, run stout, but they haven't really been getting the sacks as much this year as you would like to see.
And just keep in mind, I think the talk was the Swifties wanted Jonathan Taylor to join the Eagles, so that way they'd have Taylor and Swift in the backfield.
Yeah.
Oh, Taylor. They should.
I love that.
But you bring up good points. I think both with the 49ers and with the Eagles, what makes them head and shoulders above, or we'll call them the class of the NFC, is the fact that it's not sexy to talk about, but their offensive lines and their defensive lines are two of the best in the league. Now, again, we've talked about this. Is this a byproduct of the fact that their quarterbacks are on, rookie contracts or on more team-friendly contracts, so they can afford to pay stars on the offensive and defensive line? Because you can have flashy wide receivers, you can have great safeties, you can have great corners, but what it really comes down to is you got to protect the quarterback and you got to be able to rush the quarterback. And if you can have studs on the offensive and defensive lines, That's what really makes a difference. And not to bring it back to the Cowboys, but as a Cowboys fan, and because the Cowboys are America's team, we always want to bring it back to the Cowboys. What they looked efficient in on Sunday was the fact that on the defensive line, they could not stop the run. And on offense, especially in the red zone, they could not run the ball when they needed to.
Right.
So, even look at your Dolphins. I think you would say that right now, O-line and D-line playing pretty good, and that gives them an advantage. We talk about Buffalo, 9 sacks. Well, their defensive line has to be playing pretty good right now in order to do that. So at the end of the day, you still need that O-line and D-line. That's what makes the Eagles so scary, and the 49ers. Even the fact that they can't necessarily play their best football, and you talked about their running backs. It doesn't really matter who the running back is. We talked about the running backs are devalued in the NFL. You can put anyone back there.
Yeah.
As long as your O-line is opening up holes.
I think we also realize that the running back is the third. The running back is the third thing that makes the running game, right? And so it's always just something where it's just if you can give me a good line and a good scheme, I can find a guy anywhere to run through between cracks, right? Usually the third. Now, if he has good balance and good vision, then you can have a great running game. But if you just have the two good things, scheme and offensive line, you'll usually get a 1,000-yard rusher out of that, right? And so that's where I think it devalues is. I think before it was like the schemes were very simple when we were kind of growing up. It was I format back and hit the full back. So the running back did have to do a lot. Now these offensive minds are so smart now that they found a way to get these running backs lanes that they've never seen before. The pulls and now you find offensive linemen that can move, can pull, can get over to the side. So the linemen are getting a little more better in the run game. And now the running back, hey, just hit it, and I don't need you to, bounce off 4 guys. We'll make it so the 4 guys never get to you.
But being a dual threat, being a dual threat and being available in the flat and being available for a quick dump off or a check down, that makes you invaluable. Now, on top of that layer, if you're good in pass protection and you're actually valuable to the quarterback, then now you're even more valuable to the problem is when you're one dimensional and you're a north south runner, and of course you need that. It's 3rd and 1 often, it's 4th and 1 often, but it's more valuable to have a couple of multi-dimensional guys.
You do need the goal line. That's when the goal line guy comes in, though. And that's the funny thing is when you notice when you have a north-south guy, when you have a guy that can break tackles in there, then you're usually pretty well in the goal line. So goal line numbers reflect. Always take a look at the running backs. First thing I do is I go, okay, who's powering it through them? And if they have some fast cut guys, then I'm like, well, are they getting schemed open? If I get schemed open, you're going to struggle on the goal line. You see not only the Cowboys are like that, but also, a handful of teams that I thought that struggled. Las Vegas struggled like that in the goal line just because it didn't have the bag, kind of get through.
You don't need a goal line back anymore. You just need that quarterback and the guys to push him. I mean, that's the new play. Everybody on 4th and 1. It gets a yard. You don't need it anymore.
I've seen it fail more times. I was seeing it fail more times than not with other teams. Like when they try to do when I get it goes bloop.
I've seen the announcers act like they should, ban that play or something. It's football.
Yeah.
That's old school smash mouth. Hand you the football and go. But no, what you're saying about the running backs is correct. So. All right.
I just want to bring up a point about the tush push, as we call it. Obviously, Philadelphia runs it better than anybody else. So just as a NFL football fan living in Canada, we also have the Canadian Football League. What I find absolutely fascinating about the two leagues, amongst all the different things that, the different rules and things. But in Canadian football, the O-line and D-line have to be 1 yard apart on the snap, which is different than the NFL. But in Canada, we always bring in the backup quarterback. I don't know why, for the quarterback sneak on 2nd and 1 or 3rd and 1. 3-down football. I don't understand why American teams don't employ this. If they're worried about injury on a quarterback sneak, why not bring in a backup quarterback to run your quarterback sneak? That's a Canadian thing. We've done it. Every team has done it for as long as I can remember. They still do it. It's fascinating. But in America, starting quarterback takes all the QB sneaks.
Is it possible that
I don't know.
Maybe in America we just draft our quarterbacks are just a bit more athletic, bigger, longer, stronger?
I don't think that's the case because a lot of the big, strong, athletic quarterbacks that don't throw the ball well end up in Canada.
That's true.
We've had the Michael Bishops. We have
wrong.
Is it Josh Kelly?
Nice.
Jim Kelly's nephew. He's the starting quarterback right now for a very good Toronto Argonauts team. And
I don't think
we have Vernon Adams.
Except for Hurts, I don't. A lot of it fails more times than not. I see. You know what I'm saying? Because that D tackle pushes that guy up. The reason Philly gets away with it is because Hurts has those legs and he can squat and he actually pushes the pile up and they have the system. Hey man, there's some times where I see that quarterback, especially if they're small and they're tight, like a Joe Burrow or something, that whole team gets pushed back. They try to push him.
Cincinnati especially. Joe Burrow has a bad calf. Substitute him for a QB sneak. Don't let Joe Burrow get that bad calf. Let someone else do
Chiefs, since he hurt his leg, they don't let Mahomes do it, and so they'll do a tight end sneak or something like that, and they'll even have Kelsey or somebody else or a backup tight end running it.
Yeah, they're creative. Let Travis Kelce take the snap.
There you go.
Why not? Why don't teams let their running backs take the snap?
I like that better than the fullback dive that goes for nowhere.
So you want to go back to 85 with the refrigerator?
That's what I was going to say. The fridge, let the fridge take the snap.
Oh man,
that's exactly. You read my brain.
I always do. I try.
It was funny because you knew the fridge came in, but they always seemed surprised when he did it. You're like, hey, that giant guy's over there in the backfield.
Guys, we have a question.
It's right.
We have a question that came in here through my personal text here. It says, "Can you guys dissect the horrible call by Josh McDaniel to go for a fucking field goal on 4th and 4 in the red zone down by 8 points?" Anybody see that?
Cover the spread? No.
Cover the spread.
He has a teaser, I guess.
Yeah, he wants to win.
So it was 23-15. I think it was just over 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The Raiders had driven down the field and they had gotten stopped.
Yeah.
So I can understand it. It's kind of like this new school thought, right? Down 8, you have to score the touchdown, and then you still need the 2-point conversion to tie the game. Josh McDaniel's school of thinking possibly is, if I kick the field goal, we're down 5. If we get the ball back, we score the touchdown, regardless of the convert or not, we win the game. The hard part is, and this is, I think, where the question comes from, your team has done not much all game. We talked about the red zone struggle. So what makes you believe that if you can't punch it in right now when you're close to the goal line, that 1, you're going to get the ball back, and 2, you're going to get it close enough where you're actually going to score a touchdown? But it's kind of funny because we talk about the analytics, win probabilities, and things. You would think it would say go for it. But I guess Josh McDaniels in that moment thought, if I kick the field goal, trust my defense. But what happens is the Steelers ended up possessing the ball long enough that by the time the Raiders got the ball back, there was only like 10 seconds or 12 seconds left in the game, and they were close to their own like 10 or 15-yard line. So the game was pretty much over at that point.
Yeah.
Well,
but yeah, there's really no way to explain it other than you're hoping you kick the field goal, you get the ball back. If it worked, we would say it was a great decision. Yeah. If it doesn't work, we say it's a bad decision, and that's why we harp on it more. But like Brandon said, maybe he had the spread.
Yeah. So. It's a terrible decision because he tried to. You can't treat the 8 like you do the 9. You know, if it's a 9, you understand it. 9 and up, 10. You got to get the field goal out of the way, anyways.
Right.
But when it's a 1 and a 2-point conversion, it's still kind of just one touchdown in there, and you don't really get into that area too much right throughout the game, and so it looks bad. It even the analytics would say at 8 it's better to try to get that touchdown with the 2-point conversion than it is to think you're going to get a field goal, a stop, the ball back, and then a touchdown. Like it seems so ridiculous. But he's trying to outthink the room. He has that Belichick way of kind of coming in there, and so when he gets fired next year, maybe I don't know if Mark Davis, he can remember this play as one of the things that set the tone of his downfall because. He's done nothing but tear the team down, coaching decisions, losing huge quarter leads last year. I always hate when it's like Brandon Staley went for that 4th down against the Vikings. That probably could have cost him his job if the Vikings win that game. It's trying to be too cute, too smart. And because you don't always account for you don't have a good play. And, like sometimes it's always it's not always the 4th down you go for. It's like, that's the play you chose, the fullback. You take it out of Herbert's hands.
It's more about the play than it is about going for it.
Yeah, and also too. So and then I'm like, if we had like the Niners defense, then I'm going, okay, hey, try the field goal. Maybe we can get a turnover. Maybe go down. You're the Raiders. You guys are paper. Of course anybody can get whatever they want on you. So it was a panic move. There was no way I felt that they were going to get that for the ball back after that field goal. There was no. You knew it was over.
Right, but they had time though. I mean, you gotta, all right, you don't have faith in your defense. They don't have the 49ers defense. But if you've got time left on the clock and if you
And timeouts.
and you go for it and you miss it, you're still however many points down, not within one score. At least put yourself in within one score. Two,
Well, so
with
Dave,
time
just to
left on it.
clarify, they were down 8. So technically they were within
Okay,
the one
gotcha.
score.
One score.
That's
That's what I'm saying.
that's
They
where
got
the
the 8 and the
argument's
9
coming in
mixed
because
up.
as Brandon
9,
said,
10,
9
11.
points makes
Gotcha.
it different.
Okay.
But yeah.
Never mind.
You know, and so
Forget everything I just said.
So do you change?
But I don't.
Well, I was
I
gonna
changed
say
my answer.
maybe
No,
maybe he saw Kenny Pickett on the other side and he based it off of that. I'd be curious to see if in the same situation, does he do the same thing if it's a Josh Allen on the other side, if it's a Tua Tagovailoa, if it's a Patrick Mahomes on the other side? Did he do it because it was the Steelers and they had been struggling offensively through the first 2 weeks and Kenny Pickett had not been a world beater in this game either? I'm curious if he played not only percentages, but possibly the team he was facing. And of course, it backfired. That's
Because
something
even if
maybe
you
we'll
got
find
the
out
field goal
down the road.
there, you still needed a touchdown. And then what they would do is
Yeah.
they would punt it, and then your team would still have to drive somewhere around 70 yards to score a touchdown again. It just that one is even usually I can kind of see it, but it just kind of made no sense throughout it. It just seemed like he was trying to find some cool way to lose, and Lord knows he did. He just went for it on 4th down. Maybe, and you got the offense there. Your offense is your it's your cup of tea. It's the place you call. It's where you invested all the money, and so that side of the ball needs to be why you win or lose. And to leave it up for the defense to try to hold them on a 3rd down, never get the ball back.
Over under Josh. How many games before Josh McD is fired? Does he make it out the season?
Yes. Well, yeah, he has to make it out the season because Mark Davis is cheap. You got to remember, a lot of these owners own other businesses, right? So he's not a Stephen Ross or Groggy, something where like they can fire coaches and he still has to pay for the Gruden years. Like he still has to. They had to kind of make a deal on that, and so he's going to pay Gruden. He still has to pay Josh McDaniels the rest of the years, and then the new coach.
Right.
He's just not that guy. Like it's just even after a while, you're like, hey, I'm not paying for 3 coaches to do one job.
That's a good point.
To finish your mess here, buddy.
Where other coaches are just like ready to go at any time because they just have more.
Well, yeah, if you're Bray David Tepper or something, if you're a billionaire and you think, but this guy is the way they even the Davises inherited the Raiders is somewhat sketchy, and then to pass it down to your son. So this is a mom and pop shop, and it's there's no ancillary a lot of money where it's like, hey, if he does he could just keep throwing right in the checks. There's not a ton of checks.
I'm sorry, Dave.
No, I was just going to say that both he and I thought it was 9 points. So I will give him one more week than I make it on this show. Anyway, go on.
No, I was just going to say not much more to cover. There was a lot of interesting results. I think one of the other games that maybe just touch on for a brief second, the Saints up 17-0. Jameis Winston comes into the game because Derek Carr, former Las Vegas Raider, hurts his shoulder. He'll be out for a little bit of time. We can talk about injuries in a second. And I see AC raising your hand. Do we have a question? Do you have a comment?
That was my underdog
lock of the week, wasn't it?
My
upset of the week.
My upset of the week.
Yeah, the Saints,
I wanted to say something
covered,
about
+2.
They were +2, but poor Jameis Winston comes in up 17-0. Somehow the Green Bay Packers come back and win 18-17. And in that one, I believe, wasn't it the Packers made an interesting decision after they scored their first touchdown? They went for 2, and they got it, which then made it a 6-point game. So then when they got that next touchdown, the convert actually got them the victory. So the analytics there paid off. So we give them some credit for that. Coach LaFleur, of course. But Green Bay survives 18-17 against the Saints. But obviously your upset of the week pays off for you, AC.
1 point.
What do we know about Derek Carr? Do you have an injury report there? I think it was an AC injury.
Yeah, sprained ACL.
Yeah. How long?
A couple weeks.
I think it was week to week. He probably didn't hold about 2 or 3 weeks. I think so they could ride the ship. The one thing I was going to say, this is kind of my big takeaway from the weekend was, I think the Browns are for real. I think the defense is for real. I love Jim Schwartz, man.
I
know you
love
guys know,
Myles
like
Garrett.
he's been a defensive coordinator for a while. They needed the right dog in there to get these guys playing like this is. Watson still has a lot of things to work out, and the offense is. But this is a defense where the Steelers did this for years, and the Ravens did this for a lot of years, and the Ray Lewis is the offense just don't screw it up, right? But this defense they hunt, and I think they're going to be definitely somewhere in that playoff mix, something in their nature where watch out for these guys. I got a big feeling about the Browns. This is going to be one of those defenses where it's going to be, oh, man.
I just don't. I feel
they
like
kept coming at you.
Deshaun is hot and cold. I had to bench him.
Yeah.
I benched him after what I saw against the Steelers last week. I benched him for my fantasy team, and I got Kirk Cousins. He gave me 40 points.
It kind of reminds me of that year that Steve McNair was on the Ravens. It wasn't a great year for Steve McNair that year, but they ended up winning 13 games. Because that Ray Lewis had that defense humming. I think they had the Ravens in. I forgot to lose. I think they lose to the Colts on the way to their Super Bowl in 06. But it just don't make. Just give me 20 points. Just give me 20 points and we'll keep the team down. And then I think they'll do it. If it wasn't for T.J. Watt and like Watson losing, they would be 3-0. Except the offense kept giving points away. It was like a pick six and then that scoop and score. But if you just literally looked at they should be 3-0 for how good this defense is. And it's going to be hard to score on these guys. They're going to keep you down somewhere in the teens. I think we all kind of gave the Bengals that pass when they scored 3 on them saying, hey, it was thing. No, defense is good. They're going to keep coming. So watch out for them.
Yeah, we talked a bit about it last week because of that game against the Steelers. But right now, statistically, 32 points against for the Cleveland Browns, the best in the NFL. Yeah. And as mentioned, at least 12, if not 14 of those points attributed to the offense. So this is a defense that's given up, under 20 points in 3 games. So they say a couple of things help you on road games, and especially in the playoffs in weather, and that's defense and the running game travels. So we talked about teams that had strong running games. We're talking about teams with strong defense, the Cleveland Browns. They could be a team, I guess, to look out for here coming up. Yeah. And they have a tough test this week. Divisional opponent, the Baltimore Ravens, come to town to take on those Cleveland Browns. But Brandon kind of touched on his week 3 thoughts. Dave, if you had to sum up week 3 in 1 or 2 words, how would you put a bow on week 3?
Just 1 or 2 words. Is that all I get? Here's what I have.
You've already wasted 2 or 3, so take as many.
Damn it. All right. Man, it was rough. It's still early, but Miami does look good. There's a lot of teams that look decent, that look average. We're still in week 3. We've got week 4 coming up. I'm still excited.
That's I was about to ask you. Like,
I'm still excited.
Forget the show. Forget the analytics. Forget all this.
Yep.
All this stuff. Are you excited about watching your team next week?
I am still excited. We get 3 weeks worth of worth of overseas games. 2 weeks in London. I'm pretty sure my Jaguars are in 2 of those. We've got the Atlanta Falcons coming up. I'm excited about that game.
That's a win.
I'm excited about that game. Don't you say that, AC, because that's how they lose.
Is that a lock?
Don't pick them as a lock. Don't pick them as a lock.
I said, don't touch them.
We got plenty of football.
Don't you touch them.
Week 3 was, man, it was amazing in some respects, and I am talking about your Dolphins. And it was just, I will admit that I did have Tua on both of our fantasy teams, by the way. We still lost.
Both of them?
We still lost in both leagues.
Good Lord.
Our running backs must suck. It's whatever. It's fine. But after, I'll admit, when I watch we play the Texans and we lose like that, I get a little kind of depressed. I'm like, I don't want to watch football anymore.
That's a trap game. That's your typical.
I don't want to watch football anymore. Shut this off and turn on like a Game of Thrones or something. So yeah,
I'm like movie time.
Dude, we actually did watch a movie.
Yeah, I do. I'm like, I go pick something. I don't want to hear about football.
No,
I'm done.
Indiana Jones did.
I don't want to see a Jaguar. Yeah. I don't want to think about I don't want to see Jaguar cars.
We Indiana Jones that Sunday night. Anyway,
Tom Cruise jump off a building.
But to sum up week 3, you know what? It's week 3. That's my 3 words.
Yeah,
it's week 3. So, and moving along, Brandon.
Well, sum up week 3 for me. What did you think? How are you feeling? Are you excited?
I think here's my thing I got with it. A humbling week 3. I think whether it was the Ravens, the Jags, the Cowboys, A couple teams basically was like, hey, and then even like guys
don't
like Sean
exclude
Payton,
the Broncos. Right? Yeah.
And the Broncos, I was gonna say, Sean, I wouldn't even the Broncos. I want Sean Payton for all that shit he was talking early that season, right? The football gods have a way of really humbling you down, and so this was one of those ones where it was just like, look at, just like we know in this thing, it's a long season. It takes a long time too. I always say is just get out of September healthy and somewhere around 2 or 3. You know what I'm saying? Like 4 and 4. If you can beat 500 going there, you can do it on that nature. And so those are kind of the key things is get out healthy, make sure that, you don't get too far behind, but there's what it kind of shows me is that there's a lot of basically just figuring things out. So there's so much to dive into.
When does it start? When does the actual competition start? Like 5, 6 week 5, 6, 7?
7.
I would say
I don't know if it's competition. I think panic. When does the panic start?
Yeah,
start changing your game.
I always say when I'm trick or treating, how do I feel? Do I feel like I'm going to the playoffs around Halloween, or am I feeling like, hey, let's look at the college players. Let's see who we're.
Do you still have hope, or are you cashing it in? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think a good way when you're trick or treating, are you wearing your team's favorite jersey, or are you just dressing up in a different costume?
Or you just like
when you're taking the kiddos out of court.
But I always say Halloween because also too is like, hey, are you talking about football? Or you're like, hey, when the Lakers get like, are you already switched sports? You're like the Knights are looking good. No, this is our year. You don't even want to talk about football. You just skip to the next sport.
Or you're talking about college football about who could be your potential draft. That's also
don't bring up my NFL team. I'm just talking about fantasy now.
In other
I can never.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I would say I never have everything's always mixed. You can never have a good fantasy team. Your team's winning. And make money all the same. If your fantasy team's winning, then your team sucks. So your team's doing good, and your fantasy team can't. It's hard to get them all to line up.
Yeah, and don't have a college team too, because then you're especially if it's the Huskers. Leave those out of it. AC, what's your wrap up of week 3?
Yeah,
probably one of the best NFL weekends of my life. In my lifetime.
For last.
You know what?
Wow, it was the weekend of my life too. I love that.
Before you go
I thought
on,
Taylor Swift at a football game. It was the weekend of my life.
All right, I'll make it quick. It's probably one of the best, most historic just weekends of my Sundays of my life. Luckily, YouTube TV had it locally in my area, so I was actually watching the entire game. I'm watching the Dolphins on the Red Zone because I don't pay for the entire package, but I do have the Red Zone channel. But whenever I do go to Brandon's house, I am watching our game, so that's great.
I do pay because I'm a degenerate gambler. So I need all the games.
I
can't be like, what's going on in that? What's going on in that Houston Jacksonville game? I got to check on it.
It was great. It was great. It was a great weekend in general because I also hit a 10-teamer on Saturday.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah, I sent Brandon the ticket to prove it. Yeah, another 10-teamer this year.
He did. I did. And I was like, and I go, hey, but he put $2 on it.
I don't have the balls, baby.
That is the degenerate gambler right there. It's like, you put 2 on, but if you put 20 on it, or if you put 200 on it,
it would have been.
Doesn't win, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It would have been a couple $1,000s if I would have just put 10. So that's the beauty. But I did cash out, and that Sunday was probably one of the most memorable Sundays. I was on the verge of crying. I was standing up the whole time. I was pacing around. I was up in my office mostly with the double TV setup, and just kind of pacing around with my hand on my chin, going, "Is this the best day of my life?" So, So,
nice.
That's all. Nothing major. Nothing can ever surpass it. So, Dan, how was your Cowboy weekend?
My Cowboy weekend was not ideal, obviously, with them losing a game that a lot of people thought they should win and must win, and of course, all the hate comes down.
Call it a trap game,
I would sum up week 3 with either really with a question mark, is this really what we expect from the NFL, or was this the anomaly week? So I'll just say, we'll look back on week 3, and will we say, what we saw in week 3 was the truth, or was this maybe just, week 3 being week 3, as Dave succinctly said. And for UAC, I hope that, you have more great weekends to come, especially in February when Super Bowl 58 in your hometown.
Barring injury.
Man. Yeah, I hope so, man. It's going to be a fun year. You bring the Fins to Vegas. They travel well. A lot of money will be flowing in the city. I would love it.
I will tell you, when I went to the game, the Dolphins Raiders game last year, it was it was awesome. It was a sea of aqua. The entire you guys have been to Las Vegas. The Mandalay Bay was a sea of aqua. It was amazing. And I did see something on the news the other day saying like it was an article that people really miss here. The fact that everything was all black in Oakland. Now everything is 50-50 at best. So Raiders fans are really having a problem with the transient kind of city that we have, and it's not really sticking as hard as they want. They need more. They need more passion. They need a little bit more. I know winning will solve everything, but they need to inject something to galvanize the city with the Raiders storied franchise, because I don't see it right now. People are living and dying by them, but not. They're just not behind them.
Your city's the destination city for everybody, though. Anytime an opponent is coming in, that is the week to go to Vegas. I mean,
exactly. Like we built it. So we knew that was the point of building it, was you knew that you didn't have to have, because really there's only less than 3 million people that live here, and not them are all, and most of them are transient, right? So you weren't gonna at best you were gonna bring in a lot of LA fans and stuff like, but not enough to fill 65,000 stadium every year. You knew that you could fill it with the away fans and stuff like that.
If they're good,
but it just some fan bases follow. They leave it open, and it's a package.
But it's the place to go. I'm telling you right now, if the Jacksonville Jaguars go to the Super Bowl this year, I'll be down there. I won't go to the game. I can't afford that, but I'll be down there to hang out with you guys.
Staying at my house.
I'll be hanging down there with you guys. Now, Dallas Cowboys make it to the Super Bowl. Half the country's going to be there.
Absolutely,
they've got that many fans.
A bit of Canada too.
I would love that.
A bit of Canada
Cowboys and Dolphins, man. I would love two good teams that are going to be here. This is our one chance to get a Super Bowl here. I do not want a small market team that barely has any fans. We want to get everybody over here. It's going to be ridiculously crazy for that 2 weeks, and it's something where. I would say this though also too is with the away fans and everything is, you know what? Hey, Vegas gets them, man. Come on over, because we're gonna get your money on Friday. We're gonna get your money on Saturday, and we're gonna kill it on Sunday. And so
send your ass back home on Monday. Bye.
Yeah. Hey, Raiders take the loss, but you're going back with them on the L too. And so and because also too is it's not only for the fans that come from from that exact city, but if you're a fan of that team in another city. And it's like, hey, it's better to go see your team in Vegas than it is to go. Like, if I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan, as much as I want to go to Minnesota, I'm like, wait, I can go to Vegas for 3 days, or something like that. And so it's you're going to get everybody's one time to see that game, kind of a thing.
You got so many things to do there. Now, don't get me wrong. If it were in Minnesota, I'd go see the Prince Museum again, because I just did that a month ago. But aside from that, anyway,
what do you do the other 2 days?
Well, speaking of Prince, some may say you got it bad, but we know one person that will be at Allegiant Stadium on February 11th, and that, of course, is the Super Bowl halftime show with Usher. That was announced this weekend.
I didn't mind that. I thought it could have been,
But at least we know the halftime show. It'll be Usher, and we still await to see which two NFL teams will be featured around the concert. That is Usher.
Which NFL teams will be caught up?
Saying,
Dan Rod, I gotta say, you're so good at that. I secretly think that you literally are working at ESPN and you have a team of people behind you feeding you information on who's playing halftime shows and what are these stats and what are they not.
I am actually,
and you're multi-streaming. What?
Yeah.
I think you're multi-streaming and you already have a job somewhere. Anyway, you guys are awesome. Should we get to this upcoming week's picks?
Let's go to this.
You can't get to the Super Bowl unless you win a couple of these games coming up. So who do we feel is going to win in week 4? Can I just say the NFL beautifully built their schedule. There's 4 0-3 teams left: the Broncos, the Bears, the Vikings, and the Panthers. And somehow they're all playing each other. The Broncos play the Bears and the Vikings play the Panthers. So the NFL is basically saying, unless there's a tie, 2 of our 0-3 teams, we talked about it last week, but the 0-3 has got to go. Not as
wait. Did the 2 0-4s play the following week? I want to see. If any of those teams play each other, because then I'm going to suspect that they're going to be 0-4 too. Did the Panthers play the Bears next week?
The Bears will play the Commanders, and then the Panthers.
They should just set the season that way. If you lose, you keep going down. If
That's
you
called
win,
loser
The
you
Broncos
go
play
up.
the Jets.
They should do that.
No, the Panthers play the Lions.
Every
No,
week.
they all play other opponents. So
So this Thursday we got the Lions playing the Packers, going into the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field, right?
that will not be frozen in late September.
Right. So that's nice. Dome team goes into a pretty fair weather place, but that's only 1.5. So I think Jordan loves the truth.
Lions favored on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's scary. They never, that's always just a.
Got a London game, Falcons at Jaguars. Now, I know you don't want us to pick that game, Dave, and we won't, but I do want to ask the question, am I possible anytime scorer of the week? Kyle Pitts, 3 career touchdowns. However, he has scored one of those touchdowns, his first ever career touchdown in London. So I feel like Kyle Pitts is great in London, and somehow Kyle Pitts will score again in London.
I mean, I would love that because I have him on my fantasy team and he hasn't done jack squat. That'd be great.
I'm fine with not.
I do.
Well, he could score 7, and that'd be the only 7 they score, and the Jags score
Okay.
70.
No, I can never root for anything. I don't care if he's on my fantasy team or not.
Guys, the Jags will always win in London. I just want to say that.
God, you're killing
me.
Dude.
They're the London Jaguars. They're gonna win.
Okay, how about we only pick our underdog of the week and our lock of the week?
Got it.
Each of us, because I don't want to hear any of you talk about how the Jaguars are going to win unless it's your lock of the week, and then you screw me up again.
All right. What do you guys like? Do you guys you want me to show you the schedule here? We got Dolphins, Bills, Vikings, Panthers, Broncos, Bears, which is just, oh my God, what a shit show that's going to be, huh? The Broncos and Bears.
Guys,
somebody has to win.
I got to pick mine real fast. I do got to go pick up my daughter. She's waiting for me to go get her from things. So I'm going to go with my lock of the week and my underdog of the week. All right, guys.
Hit it.
So my lock of the week is Broncos. Right there, when you take a whooping like that, it's hard not to think you can't beat the Bears. Bears have different issues. They're just badly coached with bad.
But the Bears just took the whooping too.
They did, but they're. I just think they're a little worse, right? And I think Peyton, if he has to choke Russell Wilson enough and drag him over the thing, and then not kill Vance Joseph, I think they'll get the win, right, and feel good about themselves for at least this week.
So Broncos are favored by what, 3.5? Are we going against the spread too? They're going to beat that 3.5 too.
I think they will. I think they will. Yeah, I think definitely money line. The 3 of them, and the hook is a little killer because I do think they'll win by 3. But, if I had to, I'd rather take them at 3.5 than the Bears, because the Bears might get just blown out the water. Okay. And then I guess for my underdog of the week, something to think, I like the Buccaneers over the Saints. Jameis Winston is terrible. And I think that if you eat,
playing his old team.
Yep.
Yeah, and he'll take the L. I just think, I think actually, it's funny. I watched that Bucks game. Bucks moved the ball down the field. I like Baker Mayfield playing, and they look like they got something going. I do have a feeling they're going to be good. I like to see them over, so I'm going to take them as the underdog.
There we go. All right.
Baker Mayfield to Mike Evans is the type of downfield connection that every NFL quarterback hopes they have whenever they just heave the ball up into the middle of the field. And we see a lot of these interceptions. So somehow Mike Evans is making – he made Johnny Manziel look amazing at Texas A&M. But he's definitely helping out Baker Mayfield. This is former number 1 over quarterbacks trying to resurrect in different teams. So
true.
It will be an interesting one. But best of luck to your Vikings against the Panthers.
Hey, thanks guys so much. I had a blast, man. Stay longer next time and stuff like that. I got to go get her. She's waiting for me, guys.
We're about there.
I'm gonna watch this and see your guys' picks. So trust me, you guys. We're gonna hold some accountable. All right.
Somebody should write these down and let's keep.
I went on Casio. Casio, it's on. You got to keep the record.
I just go back to the end of every show and get them. So
there you go.
All right, guys. I'll talk to you later.
Be safe, bro.
Yeah, Brandon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, anybody listening, as we're doing lock of the week and underdog or whatever, upset.
For entertainment purposes only.
Yeah, absolutely. But lock of the week, we're basically picking against the spread. Am I correct? So you'd say lock of the week. I don't think that this team is going to score. I just want to get what we're out. Either, yes, they're going to beat the spread, or the underdog might cover the spread. Am I saying?
I think
are we all thinking the same thing with lock of the week?
Lock of the week is just with the spread. So either with the points or against the points, whatever.
Okay.
A team that you think will win or cover.
Okay.
with the points.
And then you
Right.
get an underdog.
For
An
underdog of the
underdog-
week is just a team that is not favored in a game that you think
That you
could
think can-
outright win the game.
They can pull it out. Okay,
Yeah.
because we've never
If
actually
they cover,
said that. That's
that's
the way.
nice. But
That's-
you think that could
yeah.
actually win the game.
That's the way that I thought it was too. But I'm putting it out there, so we're all the same. Lock of the week, you can either pick the underdog to cover,
Yeah.
or to get not necessarily win, but cover the points, or the team that's
Or I mean,
favored to
you're an
destroy it.
underdog could be your lock of the week too. It could be
Absolutely.
a team
Could
that's
be both.
not favored.
That's
Sure.
true. So who wants to go next? Out of curiosity, I'll go last. I don't care.
Go for it, Dan.
I'll go next. I find that this week is very fascinating because if you look, a lot of these games are very close spreads.
Yeah.
Not too many that are favored by more than 2.5 or 3.
Yeah.
There are a few games that are the exception. I'm always hesitant trying to pick my lock of the week as a team favored on the road. You know how we always love home dogs here. But my lock of the week this week, I can't figure out the Tennessee Titans. I want to believe in the Tennessee Titans, but I like the Bengals -2.5 on the road in Tennessee. I think that's a very low spread. And I think, I was trying to dive deep into it. The Bengals do not have a good rush defense. They were better yesterday against the Rams. Can Derrick Henry get going? He's had a slow start. Dave, you talk about your fantasy team. I know you have Derrick Henry. He's probably one of the reasons why you're not winning fantasy games.
That's
you know you have Tua. So give me the Bengals -2.5 over the Titans.
Lock it
as my lock. And for my upset pick of the week, we always hear about stats in prime time. The New York Football Giants are favored at home on Monday night. Daniel Jones now 1-11 in his career in prime time. Geno Smith not much better at 3-10. But Geno Smith keeps all the receipts. So give me the Seahawks on Monday night on the road in MetLife by, I guess it's 1.5. Yeah.
It's 1.5. Pull that game up because I had it the opposite.
Got it. Seahawks plus 1.5. They're the underdogs.
Plus 1.5 against the Giants.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So give me the Seahawks to beat the Giants.
The Giants are absolutely trash now.
The Meadowlands.
Absolutely. In the Meadowlands. So that's a road dog. We love them road dogs here. All right. So thank you for that. Dan, did you want to go last? Dave?
I don't care. You want to go now?
Go for it, man. It looks like you're ready to go.
Well, I've got a couple of them here.
Okay.
Dan Rod, you were real close on the ones that I picked. And now that I see that, I thought the Seahawks were favored in that. So mine might be wrong. So why don't you just pull up that Miami Buffalo game for me and make sure Buffalo's favored?
With pleasure.
At home.
I mean, that's an incredible.
How is Buffalo favored at home in this game? Don't get me wrong, they're at home. They're still Buffalo.
Yeah.
That's going to be my underdog of the week. I've got to pick underdog as the Miami Dolphins to beat the Buffalo Bills.
After you said the curse is real and don't pick against their teams.
Well, hold on. It was the lock of the week that we're not supposed to pick. That's not my lock. That's my upset. The upset is the Miami Dolphins. They're going to beat the Buffalo Bills at home or at Buffalo. It's going to.
So your lock of the week is your underdog of the week?
No, my lock of the week is going to be Dan Rod's upset of the week. Seattle Seahawks. Seattle Seahawks are going to win that game. They're not only going to win that game, they're going to win that game by 7 to 10 points over the Giants. Lock of the week, Seattle Seahawks. Upset of the week, Miami Dolphins over the Bills.
Got it. All right.
Well,
for a moment there, I almost thought like your lock of the week was which.
I almost did that too, but
it's lazy.
But I know. That's why I didn't do it.
Excellent picks, of course, for your entertainment only. So here, of course, we have on the screen, we have all of the Vegas ways to make money here, even DraftKings, Bet365, stations, Caesars, MGM, so we can see every single betting line possible here in Vegas. So my lock of the week, it's no coincidence. I stopped right here at the 49ers. The 49ers are going to beat the Cardinals by at least 14 points. They're going to cover the 14-point spread.
Wow, be careful.
Yeah, that's right. No, well, that's going to happen, and that's one of the only spreads that are big, like Dan Rob said, lots of close spreads. So lots of pick 'em.
I think that's the only double-digit spread of the week.
That's right.
He's just trying to get the 49ers to lose, I think. The lock of the week jinx. Anyway, go.
I'm willing it. Yes, I'm pushing it with my mind. So that's my lock of the week. I have no question. Kyler Murray's not playing. It's just I know that they just took care of the Cowboys. I'm so sorry, Dan, but that was a trap game. I think the Cowboys are going to get back into the winning ways. The Cardinals are going to regress back immediately because they just played way above.
I appreciate that you're taking San Francisco to avenge the Cowboys loss. I appreciate that.
The 49ers are coming for that ass. Yeah, absolutely. As we say,
and then it'd be like a weird circle, right? So the Cardinals will beat the Cowboys in week 3, then the 49ers will beat up on the Cardinals in week 4, but then somehow the Cowboys will find a way to beat the 49ers in week 5.
I'm telling you, it's scripted. It's got to be. It's
Just
got
like
to be. Perfect.
Cowboys beat the Giants by 40, Cowboys beat the Cardinals by like 12, but then the Cowboys lose to the Cardinals by.
It's like a weird kind of
3,
like incestuous, kind of like a rolling.
And so, who is your underdog of this week? Then?
Underdog this week is going to be. Oh, just had it up here. The underdog is going to be, and now this is for just like we said. This is for sure. This is for the plus 5.5, right? So all I have to do is hit the spread. So if it is, the Raiders are plus 5.5 against the Chargers. I think they're going to cover that spread and not lose by more than 5.
Yeah, I think for underdog, we're trying to pick. In my mind, we can always change it.
A winner.
Pick a team that is an underdog that you think can win outright. But if you're confident that they'll cover, we will accept it. But who do you think can come?
Who do you think is an underdog that can win the game?
Oh, the Rams are going to beat the Colts. So
they're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Underdogs. There's a +1.
+1. That's a pick'em game, basically. I think I like the Rams are just more talented with a non-rookie quarterback.
I'll go with that. I'll agree with that.
And I guess we don't know the health of Anthony Richardson as of right now. He was in concussion protocol, so it is possible he could play this coming week. Gardner Minshew doing Gardner Minshew things last week for the Colts.
He was Minshewing.
In terms of the Panthers, I think it'll still be Andy Dalton under center for the Panthers this week against the Vikings. They did rule out Bryce Young for at least 1 to 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah, he's a little fragile. He's small because there's no way I'm taking the Texans over the Steelers. There's no way that I can't. The Ravens are underdogs. I see. Is there something that I missed as far as injury?
I don't think it's necessarily an injury. I think they just believe that the Browns are playing well right now. And a lot of times, if you look as a home team, you're usually given that 3-point edge automatically, I believe.
Yeah.
So at 2.5, this is basically their version of saying on a neutral field, this would probably be more of a pick'em game where the Ravens would be favorites, but they're giving the Browns a little bit of the edge. And I'm pretty sure Lamar Jackson has a really bad record against the Browns right now for whatever that's worth.
I just wouldn't. I wouldn't trust it. I don't like. I don't like the Browns winning by 2.5 against the Ravens. That's just me. One that I just overlooked. No matter what.
You guys just mentioned Minshew. I just need to point out one thing. I am wearing old school gear. I am in literally an old Jacksonville Jaguar. I'm pretty sure he's a coach now.
Byron Leftwich. Yeah, he's a quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. But here's what I heard mentioned. It's my undershirt. That's my Gardner Minshew undershirt, by the way.
He was a god in Duval County.
He was. All right. Did we get those picks?
We did. And we're perfectly at an hour and a half.
You guys are amazing.
For the first time ever. And there was 4 of us.
That right there is amazing.
Hell yeah.
Any final words or anything you want to promote anyone? Because I might promote some.
I will just say very quickly, obviously, my Dallas Cowboys take on the New England Patriots at home this week. So Ezekiel Elliott will return to AT&T Stadium to make his triumphant return against the Cowboys. And you're already hearing the chatter that Cowboys fans or Cowboys are worried because the Patriots signed former Cowboys quarterback Will Grier this week. So Will Grier knows some of the Cowboys hand signals and things. Ezekiel Elliott should know this offense to an extent. So how much will this be an advantage to Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots? Keep in mind, this Patriots team, although they struggle on offense, still pretty good on defense. And if Bill is the coach that we all think he is, he will study that tape and he will know everything that the Cardinals did well to beat the Cowboys. So I'm interested to see how the Cowboys bounce back against the Patriots team. A game they're favored by a touchdown. We'll see if they can get a touchdown in the red zone.
What worries me there is not having Trayvon Diggs. And that worries me. Not so much because they're New England's an offensive powerhouse, more just because he's he's a heck of a player out there. He's kind of like the general in the
Yeah, it
field.
definitely changes the dynamic you have on defense. I really do think just Micah Parsons was trying too hard to make up for the loss of Trayvon Diggs on Sunday as well. So
come at my edge, I'm gonna put you in the tent. Wow, you're telling people you're gonna put him in the injury tent. All right, sounds good, Micah. He's on my fantasy team. I hope he gets 10 tackles in a loss. But sorry.
There you go.
I hope they win.
All right. Well, here's what I have to promote, guys. Early in the morning on Sundays, the Jacksonville Jaguars, I don't know, for like the next 2 weeks are going to be on TV. So wake up, I don't know, at 7 in the morning
6:30
or 6. Is it 6:30 in the morning too?
Yeah.
All right. 8:30 in the morning Central, 9:30 in the morning on Eastern. And check out the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll see if they can do that. I also want to promote my other show.
Yeah.
With my wife. It's called How Was Your Day? The Married Couple Podcast. You can find that anywhere. You can find it on Instagram. You can find it on the Married Couple Podcast, underscores in between each word. We are on Facebook. We are on YouTube. You can ask Alexa to play the Married Couple Podcast. It's us. This upcoming week's guest is Red Rose. From we all know her. I think most of us know her. She's originally from Stereo and part of our group AC.
Yep.
And AC, are you going to lock in for next week to be our guest? I
thought I already RSVP'd. I'm in.
I wasn't sure. All right. So next week it'll be AC as our guest.
All right.
Dan Rod, we'll have you in a couple weeks. All right.
That
sounds
good.
That's
awesome.
what I got.
That'd be awesome.
Right.
I haven't done Midnight Media in a couple weeks just because I have a couple of work things going on where I want to make sure to button everything up before I toss myself back into my dark media channel. But if anybody wants to see some of my past stuff, lots of cool videos and shorts and things, you can find me at Midnight Media _ on YouTube, as well as hit, you're probably going to see a link down here. You can hit any one of our links. And I'm excited to talk to you guys again next week because it's quickly becoming one of my favorite part of my week is talking to you guys. You guys are great.
All right. You guys are awesome.
My avatar is blushing.
If you only had your camera on, you see me blushing too. But all right. Well, you guys have an awesome week. Go sports ball. Can't wait for absolutely can't wait for you guys to meet me back here on NFL HQ. Y'all have a great week.
Next week. Everybody take care. Oh, real quick before we go.
Okay.
Guys, anybody listening or listening after, leave a comment to NFL HQ and we might address it on next week's show.
Yeah.
Leave us a comment. Leave us a question. Am I right?
Just like I did. We
absolutely. Just like you did earlier today. If you watch the games on Sunday, it is Tuesday. Tuesday's a bit of a therapy session after overreaction Monday. Yeah. If you want to take a seat on our couch and have us console you about your team after a bad loss or bring you back down to earth after a 50-point victory, we're willing to do that for you.
I'm still flying high, baby. I'm still flying high, baby. But yeah, come hang out with us. We're kicking it on Tuesday. Like Dan Rod said, come cry on our shoulder. Come talk to us about how you hate our teams, things like that. So that's what football's all about. We love you all.
Everybody, take care.
Have a good one.